I call this meeting to order at 7:03. We have all of us board members here presently, physically. We have Steve Brown, Nick Poloni, Jack Nicolai, and myself, Dana Powers. We have administration present physically / remotely in the LGI. Is that fair to say?
In their offices.
Or their offices, yes. They are just not in this room with us. And visitors could very well be in the LGI. If you could stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could have a motion on the agenda, please.
A motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries.
First time in like 7 months
Oh,
we've been
it's
able
been a
to.
while.
I know, it's great.
We're excited because all of us board members are in the same room, which has been a while. So it's very, very wonderful for us. I am thrilled to announce that we have the seat of Lisa Hines, who is very big shoes to fill, that we have appointed Ted Gergen for the open board seat that we had. During a 6 o'clock special meeting, we did interview a number of candidates, and we did select Ted Gergen. We feel that he is just a really great person for this role. He is very well versed, as he was a board member for 6 months, roughly, back when we had a previous board vacancy. So we're really excited to have him back, especially since we have some big things coming. We could really use his insight on that. So now I am going to leave it to Steve, the clerk, to swear him in.
Dr. Gergen, come over here.
I am smiling. I know you can't tell.
I can tell.
I can tell.
Okay.
This is weird.
If you would raise your right hand, I state your name,
I, Ted Gergen,
having been elected or appointed to the office of school board member
having been elected or appointed to the office of school board member
for the Board of Education of the Salem School District,
for the Board of Education of the Salem School District,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but not yet have entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Shouldn't that be broken up in a little?
Try again. Give small.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
And I will faithfully discharge the office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I need you to sign. I need you to just
Yep.
print your name there, please. And you sign there, right there. Okay.
You just make
Thank you,
this
sir.
fun.
It's at your back.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, so moving on to President's Report. Now that school has officially started, I just wanted to say a few words to address a couple different groups of people. First, the students and staff here. I understand there may be blood, sweat, and tears involved, but know that everyone here in this room, everyone in the LGI, anybody who has eyes and ears sees you. We know exactly. We do not know exactly. We have so much love and care and understanding for you guys in this time. I have heard so many people tonight and throughout the community saying how great their experience at Salem is, and that is 100% because of you guys. I know it's hard. I know that we in this room are doing everything we can possibly be doing to make this as comfortable and enjoyable as possible. If you are losing sleep, if you are concerned, please make sure that you reach out to your principal, to Connie, to myself, anybody here. Please make sure that you're heard. And please know that we are here for you and we are all on the same side. For parents and taxpayers and whomever else is watching, everybody here in this building is doing cartwheels for everybody in this whole entire area. I appreciate everybody who's working so hard to make sure that not only your students, but your community is healthy and well taken care of to the best of our ability. So I just wanted to make sure that I address those things and make sure that everybody knows that we're all working here together and there could not be more love and care. So I wanted to make sure that I had my time to say that. Now, on to offices. Jack, do you have any interest in the treasurer position?
No, I don't.
Steve or Nick, do you have any interest in the treasurer position?
Negative.
No, I do not, Madam President.
Ted, I am appointing you as treasurer of the board, not only because nobody else wants it, because you are the perfect role for that position. So you have the treasurers and then the committees. Shoot, I thought they were listed here.
They are, so,
Where am I looking? Okay.
so it's on the board slide. The committee appointments would include the chair of education review,
Yes.
which was held by Lisa, and then member of personnel or negotiations also.
Perfect. Ted, I also appoint you to being the chair of the Ed Review, which is also great for you. And please join me as a member of the Personnel and Negotiations Committee. That was easy.
Actually, fit right in that.
Yeah, that works really well. Okay, and then Connie, go right ahead.
So typically at this point, we pick out an individual perhaps on the staff that has done above and beyond. And the reality is there's no way we could pick an individual. I just have a few little pictures up there, but I just want to kind of echo what you said, President Powers. Our staff has been amazing. They have done everything they can to meet the needs of our students and our families. And it has been hard and it has been stressful and worrisome. But to walk through these halls and see how happy our kids are to be back and know that the efforts that have been put in have, at least for now, made a huge difference in many kids' lives and families' lives. And so I'm just going to put a shout out to our entire staff, without which any of them is a hugely important piece of making what's happened happen. So.
Okay, clerk's report. Steve, do you have anything?
I do not have any correspondence, Madam President.
So Ted, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna have Nick go through the treasurer stuff for right now, but make sure that you brush up on your numbers for next month. So Nick, whenever you're ready.
Whenever everyone is done looking at the bills.
Oh, and just to restate this for everyone and also Ted's benefit, and I know you've heard me say this before, but I kindly ask that everyone review these documents beforehand so we can get to any questions and making motions right away. So Ted, obviously you're excused, but you can go ahead with the treasurer's report.
All right.
May I ask you a question before
Yes,
we
please.
start? The way these things are printed out with the light print, even on a laptop, it's close, it's hard to read.
Even if you zoom in.
Even if I zoom in,
Yeah, I agree.
it could be darker printing. It could be done in bold or with a different kind of font. I don't know if this is the way it has to be done with the program they use.
So I know
So it's
Susan.
probably the program they use, but I can certainly work with Susan and see if there's a way to get it so that there's more of a contrast and it's more legible.
Yeah,
That would be appreciated.
yeah, because usually what I typically do is have to print stuff out, and I agree with you, unless I'm on a big screen, but yeah, I agree with Jack. Thank you.
Treasurer's report is first. That's
Oh, yeah, not the checks.
correct.
That's right.
So you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
how to do it?
Yep, totally. while I'm doing this, review the. All right, so this is a treasurer's report dated 9/17/2020. And what we have here is, let me double check something here real quick. All right, we have an ending balance, or what?
Okay, so how I do it is you see how there's little stars?
Yep.
So do the general fund.
Oh yeah, the general fund.
And
Yeah,
this.
going across.
Just that.
Yep,
Yep,
that's what I meant to do
Got it.
actually. All right, so we have a general fund cash account. The ending balance is it the first one right there?
The last,
The last one,
the-
right? The
yep.
$1,252,269.80.
perfect.
We have credit cards with an ending balance of $15,891.18. We have an EBC Flex and HRA cash account ending in $5,387.44. A capital improvements fund ending in $413,169.96. Petty cash is at $400. And local government investment pool is ending at $143,776.28 with an ending balance of $1,830,894.66. I motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
With a grand asset total.
With a grand asset total of $1,830,894.66.
Perfect. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
Super. Motion carries. Just gotta get that in there.
And whenever
Uh,
everyone checks.
Yep,
check.
and then accounts payable bills. Whenever you're ready. Does anybody have any questions that they prepared in advance?
No. I know.
Jack, are
No.
you good? Go ahead.
So these are checks dated 8/22/2020 through 9/18/2020. I motion to approve check numbers 69533 through check number 202000111 and a total of $551,736.45.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
And motion carries. Okay, oh, go ahead.
So then on the consent agenda, we also have the minutes of the special school board meeting, 8/25/2020, as printed and amended.
This is the one last month where I was.
This is when you are now.
When I was being Bob the Builder for a second.
Oh, that was correct, now, okay. Great, so, but we still have three of us, so we're good.
Right, yep.
Steve or Jack, you want to motion this one?
My screen just got blacked out. I move that we approve the special school board minutes from August 25th, 2020, as printed.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
And motion carries. And then the regular school board, that's it. Oh, sorry, Connie. Anyway,
So in the minutes of the regular school board meeting, 8/25/2020, as printed and amended.
one of you two again, please.
I move to approve the regular school board meeting minutes from Tuesday, August 25th, 2020 as presented.
So moved.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstain?
Aye.
And motion carries. And then the special school.
Lastly, the
sorry.
minutes of the special school board meeting of 9/16/2020, as printed and amended.
I motion to approve the minutes of the special school board meeting dated 9/16/2020 as printed and or amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain,
Aye.
and motion carries. Okay, so Ted, I think going forward, you can do most of this. Okay, so did we receive any public comments?
No, we did not.
Okay. We do not have any public comments at this time. Friendly reminder that by 4 p.m., the date of the meeting, you can email those to Diane, and we will happily read those during this time. Go ahead, Connie.
The first action item on the agenda is to sadly address an elementary teacher resignation. Janice Wormeling, who is a second grade teacher at Salem, has decided that it's the best choice for her and her family at this time for her to resign. Her contract does call for $3,000 in liquidated damages because it is during the middle of the year. I want to assure our families, I know that this is very concerning for everyone. This is not great timing, but we also respect a decision of that nature. And so our priority, even as we were working today, is to put a plan together, but it will be a difficult position to fill at this time. It may take some rearranging here to try and cover it with existing staff, but we are very focused on doing the best we can for our students and recognize that they are our priorities. So we'll be working on that.
How long has she been in the district, the teacher?
She's been here a pretty long time. I honestly have to say I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I would say at least 20 plus.
She was here when I was here.
Yeah, that would be my assumption.
29 years.
Oh, hi, Sue.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Sue.
So the recommendation would be to accept Mrs. Wormeling's resignation effective September 21st, 2020, and assess liquidated damages in the amount of $3,000.
I'll wait until you close the door. Sorry.
Cleaning loudly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you know what? Sounds like they're happy.
yeah. Connie, I've been on the board 5 years, and others have been on the board longer. Jack, you were on the board for a number of years before that. Has there been a time where the board has not assessed the liquidated damages in the last 5 years? But I know not in the last 5 years. I'm just asking.
So I would say that there has been times, but not, I believe, due to intent. In the past, we had the liquidated damages. Remember earlier this year, we actually changed those. We reduced them.
Right.
They used to be $5,000. The difference is that it wasn't always included in the actual teacher contract that a teacher would sign that has those
Right.
spelled out.
Okay.
In this situation, that is a part of the teacher's contract. I believe for the very reason that we're seeing tonight is that it is going to be very difficult to try and fill the position at
Okay.
this point.
A motion to accept Mrs. Wormeling's resignation effective September 21st, 2020, and assesses liquidated damages in the amount of $3,000.
So moved. Somebody?
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, motion carries. We also had what was the other grade that someone?
Fourth grade
Oh, sorry.
was, fourth grade was at
Okay,
our last
uh,
meeting.
Any applications come through for that position?
We did have a couple applications. At this point, we do not have a candidate that we're offering a contract to. So we are working on that. There is a long-term sub in there right now.
Is there another long-term sub that we've worked with?
For
So
second
we
grade?
have some options, but I will tell you at this point, we just found out yesterday, so we haven't had a chance to finalize anything. We are working rapidly to do that, but I don't have somebody in there immediately that I would consider a long-term person.
This is the second substitute teacher we're going to be having in that grade level now, too, right? As far as full-time subs.
So we do have a long-term sub in that started at the beginning of the year,
Correct,
however,
correct.
but
Right,
yes.
So this will be the
Right.
my Jack.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, got it.
Right. Who went to?
No.
No. Okay.
Is it an issue? I think it's.
I think, I will tell you that pretty much every district around is struggling to have teachers in all of the classrooms. I think one of the real challenges for us is in trying to meet the needs of our students, we significantly lowered our class sizes, which required us to use a significant amount of our staff that were not already assigned to grade levels. So under normal circumstances, would have other staff members that I could move into that position. And that may well be what we do. But again, it's just to have come to a final decision a day after we found out, we're just not there yet. But we
I have
will
a
be working on it.
question with regards to that, because we have a couple teachers that are on a semester basis right now with
Temporary
contracts.
contracts, correct.
If this is going to be a full year substitution, is there any way, and I know it could be possibly disruptive, but at least the ideology behind that would be to sign a full year contract for teachers in that position, so we can plan for maybe just kind of taking it a half year at a time, or are those positions that those particular teachers those will probably end up being full year contracts generally, or I'm just guessing, I just kind of want to get a little clarification on that.
So it's very difficult to say. I mean, much of it is reading the COVID crystal ball. And it's nearly impossible for me to do that. So we hired them for the semester thinking that things would be amazing in January and we would not need them any longer. I think the likelihood of that happening is pretty unlikely. And I would not want to pull one of them from a class and then move them into this position because it just creates disruption on disruption. And if we can avoid doing that, we will. There is some merit in trying to find a good long-term sub because you do have students that graduate at midterm in January, so you might have a larger candidate pool at that time. But I also want to be very careful to not assign someone to a long-term contract that we haven't fully vetted and that we may be in a situation where, I just don't want to jump into something because I feel like we owe it to our students and our families to find the best person. And if that takes a little bit longer, that may be what we end up doing before we can get a permanent person. But I have, in the process of sitting down with my principals and talking about every staff member we have in the building and seeing if there is an option within our building to move into that position. And if not, what our options might be bringing someone from the outside. I can tell you when we went through and posted our fourth grade position, we have about 3 applicants. And so there aren't many people out there for these types of positions right now.
And they may not be willing to move from their current
For a
district.
temporary position, they may not. And then also, these are times for all teachers where I think there's a reluctance to, just jump into something that they may not be familiar with or leave a situation that's familiar right now for them. But I don't want it to sound like we're not going to find a teacher. We're going to put our heads together as an administrative team tomorrow, and we're going to figure out what we believe is the best way to move forward for our students. Okay. So we have a shared service contract. This is an annual contract. We've done this for the last few years. This is for deaf and hard of hearing. It's a shared contract with Paris, with Salem being the fiscal agent. It's a staffing contract for 6 hours per week with a total cost to Paris of $15,465.27. The recommendation would be to approve the shared services contract with Paris in the amount of $15,465.27 for the 2021 school year.
I motion to approve the shared services contract with Paris School District in the amount of $15,465.27 for the 2020-2021 school year.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries.
Another shared service contract also with Paris. This one is for occupational therapy. Again, Salem as the fiscal agent. A staffing contract for 4 hours per week. The total cost to Paris would be $10,650.33. It's a recommendation to approve the shared services contract with Paris School District in the amount of $10,650.33 for the 2021 school year.
I move to approve the shared services contract with the Paris School District in the amount of $10,650.33 for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries.
So I put on the agenda the action item of addressing the state mask mandate. You may have heard on the news today that the governor did extend that by an additional 60 days. At the time I placed this on the agenda, I was not sure what would happen with that, and I wanted to consult with the board. But I think we should still at least have a conversation about it. It was originally set to expire September 28th. The new executive order put in place today is for 60 days. The initial executive order was challenged, and this one may be as well. And I think that does create some concern on the part of people to think, okay, so what happens if it goes down one day? What does that mean for the school district the next day or that day? And I guess I would say that the district may consider making a recommendation to go, for example, to December 1st or potentially to January 1st, so that, and again, not required by any means, but that if something does happen in between with a court case, you wouldn't be scrambling at that time between board meetings to come to some sort of a decision as to what the board would want to happen at that time.
Could we have it in place until the November meeting, which is when the next 60 days would be up? Or are you saying that we just have our own mandate in place?
Well, I'll go through all of it, but I'm suggesting you may want to consider making your own decision as a school board. So our school reopening plan, which was approved by the board, does address masks. If you recall, we went through that and it talked about specific environments where masks were. So the executive order would only change one environment, because if you recall, in the traditional, there was a mask mandate. In the virtual, it didn't matter because that was virtual, it was at home. But in our blended environment, and I would just remind you that we would make every effort that masks would be required when working directly with the teacher in common areas or in small groups. But there was the decision at that time that masks are highly recommended at all times, but may be removed when seated at desk for direct instruction or quiet practice unless the health department mandates at all times. So that's the only environment that would be impacted by a change in the state order. I did just want to share a couple things with you in terms of where Kenosha's at, because I do go to the weekly meetings with Kenosha County, trying to keep up on what the infection rate is within the area and the decision making that they're making. As you see from looking at the graph, as the numbers move up into this orange band, that's the concerning area from the county perspective. In the red band is the probably look at a safer at home order where you'd have some kind of a shutdown. So certainly we're nowhere near that, but we're getting up again, kind of moving up in that world, and that doesn't even include the last week. So think about kind of what you've been hearing on the news with districts around us in terms of where that may be by Friday. Again, you can see here too, this is the reproductive number. Anytime it gets above 1, that's a dangerous time. So that means that, you know, if it's below 1, that means one person that has it starts, you know, pretty much only infects maybe one other person. Once it jumps above that 1, then you start seeing that multiplier where you see significantly more infections from each case that could be passed on to another. And then I would just share the 7-day average and then the 14-day average for Kenosha County. It is a little deceiving because Kenosha County has a pretty low testing rate, so that average is going to be higher. But there are many districts that would say that your 10% infection rate is one where you might even consider virtual instruction. And I'm not recommending that, mainly because of the low testing level, but I did want to share that in terms of considering the mask mandate. So I guess there are a couple things the board could do at this point. The board could do nothing. There is a state mask mandate that goes for the next 60 days. The board could make a decision to extend the state mask mandate in the school setting for a period of time, regardless of what happens at the state. Or, I mean, there are other options as it relates to that too, but I would recommend that those be the thing, at least the decision-making around that you might want to consider.
Can we say when Menards removes its fan?
We will follow Menards, yes.
No, I'm with state and local officials at this point. I mean, that's their job to inform us on how to do that. So I don't want to.
I mean, they're doing the hard work, right? So why not go on their backs and,
Yeah. That's
Yes.
at this point. I don't think there's.
Connie, your main concern though is that there could be a challenge that could happen in between this board meeting and the next board meeting, or the next board meeting and the following one, that could disrupt
So
that.
my bigger concern, I will tell you from my staff's perspective, they would be very concerned if the state were to, if through some legal process, the state were to do away with the mask mandate. Because if you remember Safer at Home, once that was brought down, it was within that day, all of a sudden, that no longer applied. My staff, I believe, would be quite concerned if, say next week, it gets brought down by a court order and there's no longer a state mask mandate. So then that would flip into those blended environments where that mask would no longer, I mean, students would not have to wear a mask in those environments. I believe I would have a significant concern on the part of my teachers in those blended environments if that were to occur.
so what if we did December 1st and then we'll discuss it at the November meeting?
I have a question.
Does
Sure.
that make sense?
We told the parents up front that they were gonna have a certain amount of time and they had to decide of the three options. And when would that renew?
So what we said is we would reconsider that at semester.
At
Now,
semester
we
was-
had talked about, would there be, if things were going really well, would we give, open up some options to look at potentially, adding a traditional and dropping a blended? I would say right now, that's not good timing to consider anything like that. So the most likely scenario is that we ask parents to commit until the semester.
What I'm saying is though, since we've already gotten a commitment from them to wait to this point before you make a change, I think it would be reasonable to say mask mandate to this point, to kind of keep sort of a cohesion into our decision, kind of tie it all together.
That's fine. I'm in favor of that.
So I think why she's bringing it up is because with the blended option, a part of that was that they would be more lax in wearing a mask. So that's why she's bringing it up in this area. So what we could say then is disregard that. We'll do it until December 1st, January 1st, whatever it is, which supersedes.
And again, I
blended
think,
model.
one of the things I would say, and I know it's a difficult decision to make, I will tell you that our teachers, I think rightfully so, have been very anxious about, and as you see the media constantly around, new infections here, new infections there, and as we see school districts, and as you probably saw in the media very recently, there was a teacher in Wisconsin that did die, and we probably did not get it at school, but I think that anxiety level for our teachers is very high right now. And I know, without, telling you examples, I know that many of our blended teachers would feel very uncomfortable if all of a sudden that state order was put down and we no longer had students in masks in the classroom. And again, I think that that's a fairly recent phenomenon. Based on what's all going on. And so that's where I would be, I guess, what I my only concern with the state order is the fact that I believe it will be challenged. I don't know that it'll be successful in challenging it.
Well, wasn't it challenged prior and nothing happened? I think it would be a hard sell to have it overturned this time either. So I'm personally not worried about that. It's more of a, let's just come up with our own date and then we'll revisit it the meeting before that date happens. So whether that's December 1st or January 1st.
So the meeting prior to the semester end, let's put it on the agenda for that particular meeting then.
What's,
It'd be
do
the
you know what that is
December.
offhand?
So that would be the December,
Yeah, let's put it on the table
the
for
third
December.
week in December meeting.
Yeah, December meeting, and then
That's good
we
compromise.
have a week
Yeah.
before the next semester or whatever that is, and then we plan at that point.
When is the semester end date?
So the semester ending date would be January, usually, I think January 20th, somewhere in there. So we'd probably look at it in the December board meeting, but it could take effect at any time.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what you're saying, don't you?
Right. So
Run it to
say
January
or
1st.
December 31st.
Whatever
Let's
the
say December
December-
31st,
yeah.
but we'll revisit it at the December board
Correct.
meeting. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Mhm.
Simple.
I
And
agree.
again, I think, I myself probably wouldn't ask for this, but I've seen the anxiety my teachers have around it, and I wanna honor their concerns at this point.
And that makes sense. And
Makes
that's,
sense,
that is a beautiful request or concern to bring forward. And great, if we can put that in place to have everyone feel more comfortable, then great.
Mhm.
Do you need a motion for that?
We need a motion
Yes.
for that? I motion to maintain all students and staff to wear masks inside the building until December 31st,
2020.
2020.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries.
Then make sure that on the December board meeting agenda, that is addressed on there to read.
Diane's all over it, I can tell right now.
That's
And
already
I've
on
seen
the
some of
agenda.
her
She
stuff,
already
and
has
it's
that
not
agenda
It's
detailed.
already
ready to go.
printed,
Yeah, she's
so.
already got it up.
In fact, I already got the email. She already sent it
Oh,
to
jeez, what took so long?
me.
So on a happier note, I wanted to share with you as a school reopening update, just some pictures because if there's one thing that makes it worthwhile, all the work that our staff has put in, all the work that we put in to open up our doors. If you walk through this building, which not many adults that are not employees here get a chance to do, our kids are happy. And they are working under very different circumstances than they may have in the past, but they're very happy to be here. And I wanted to share a little bit of that with you, just to take you and anybody who's watching a little bit of a walk through our halls. This is our early morning. You can see right away in the morning, we're cleaning and getting ready for the school day. We have our cooks packing up lunches and getting ready for those grab and go breakfasts and making sure that we're getting food out to our kids in the different classrooms as they come into the school. We're already starting to line up our cars in our assembly line drop off that's very safely done of our kids. You can see that they're out there right away checking those kiddos so that they don't even have to get out of the car before they come in the door. Kids are happy getting off the bus and going through their sequence into our building in the morning. Getting greeted by their teachers. Nobody even questions. They walk up, a couple seconds, have the temp taken, and they're into the building. I think the other thing that's been nice is that contact with the teacher every day or people as they're coming in the building. You can see we have all sorts of little tricks in place to try and keep our kids separated. The kids bring Post-it notes and put them up on the bathrooms so that we know how many kids are in the restroom at any time to keep that social distance.
That's really creative.
You can see our teachers who are teaching remotely and streaming into classrooms, getting their packets together. This is our art teacher, you can see, packets together for the different homerooms for the kids to work on activities in their homerooms. A lot of creative within the classroom. I didn't want people to think that our classrooms were all sterile and lacking color. A lot of creativity and carrying out the activities with our students.
I love the salt lamp, that's good.
You can see our book return. We have all of our library books that are placed on quarantine. We actually have a book delivery service where students can choose books that they would like to check out, and our library will drop them off at the homerooms, and then students can drop them into the bins to go back to the library. We have lots of hand sanitizer around for kids to get used to, and a lot of little teaching posters as to how you use those things. Our outdoor classrooms that we have in place for students if they want to be, if, for example, a teacher wants to take them out for lunch, out into that outer area. If we get a little bit of rain, we can still use that outdoor area. And in our classrooms, you can see that, yes, our students are spread. It looks a little bit different, but they're definitely getting down to work and enjoying their time in the classroom. Just give you a couple examples of what some of our classrooms look like. You can see quite a lot more spread out than maybe in the past, but still pretty happy kids working in there. A little bit of movement from time to time. It's not like they're strapped in their chairs all day. Some of our larger classrooms that we've used where we had more kids, so we had to put them in a larger classroom. This is actually our former music room. You can see because of the larger number of students, I think there's 20 students in this classroom, then we have an assistant in there to kind of help keep our kids separated. Some of the various classrooms. This would be one of the blended classrooms where you have a much smaller number of students. Here's your music, Jack. That was one of the areas that we worked on to try and have a place for our students in band to take their band lessons. If you look at that beautiful arch in the back of the building as you're coming in, it works as a perfect learning space. I actually was out there today and I said, you know, this wouldn't, I mean, to be honest with you, even under bad circumstances, this isn't a bad classroom to have. And he agreed. Kids have gotten very used to going out there and taking their lessons out there. And see on our playground, lots of inventive games. Kids are still, again, able to play and interact for recess and that type of thing. Our health office, a very busy place and very important to the overall workings of the building. This is the secret green room, the room where if we have a potential student who might have an infection, we would move them there because there's an immediate outside access and outdoor air that you can bring into that room. Cafeteria, it looks, in some ways, when you're looking at it, it looks a little sad, but I walked in there many times. Those kids definitely are talking back and forth and shouting back and forth. There's lots of conversation going on. So you don't have to feel like they're lonely by any means in those little areas.
I feel like they're solving world peace right there in that room.
It is funny because I walked through there today and the kids are definitely there, you know, chatting back and forth and calling to this one or calling to that one and very friendly when you walk by and waving. And I think one of the things that I've noticed even personally myself is that it's hard to know when somebody's smiling. And so then I always think to myself when I'm looking at the kids, do they know that I'm smiling at them? You know, I think that that's one of those challenges that comes with the face mask.
Good point.
And then of course, between every lunch, they're out there cleaning as the next students come in. We spend a lot of time talking with kids about social distance. We talk about the Frankenstein walk where they walk in the hallway with their hands in front of them so they keep that distance. Our teachers taking advantage during their lunch of knowing that they can't hang too close together, but advantage of the outside weather. This is our evening parking rodeo, as you can see, very organized, very set up. Parents are very used to rolling in and waiting their turn to go and pick up their kids. We have a really outstanding staff that, you know, goes right out to the cars like they're taking a takeout order and gets the name of the student and has them set ready as soon as that car pulls up to send them out to the car.
I gotta say, I went through that this last week, and That's a lot of coordination. I mean, in a very positive way. It works really well. I was very surprised.
Yeah, you guys are crushing something that would be miserable, but it's really
I'm
quite
amazed
great.
at how fast it goes. I would say that if people wait long periods of time, it's because they're coming early. So we don't let out school till 3:15. We run at least 100 cars through there pretty quickly and picking up kids. We're done by 3:30. I think tonight we were done by 3:27.
So, do you have any issues with getting out on the road over there, especially when the buses are coming in? Have you noticed a lot of congestion in that area over the
No,
No.
at first it was a
Sometimes
little
I do
bit.
that, and it's fine. We just kind of go off to
I-
the.
Yeah,
Gravel.
at first, when we weren't really good at our lining cars up and getting them in the lot, we had a little trouble with it running out onto 83, but within a couple days, we figured out we had to do that differently. And that's where the parking rodeo comes in. We just have them, we pull them in and put a cone behind that and then move over to the next row. And then I just walk up and move that row out and it goes pretty slick. The other side, we have a little bit of trouble with congestion, but still pretty good. The difference on the other side is that you're not going to back up the lights. You've got a little more room there. If you do have a little overflow onto AH and people can get around you there.
So, two things real quick though that maybe we got to have the conversations with the county and whoever does our snow plowing during the winter. I mean, the county's got to really push that shoulder over.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and it's got to be.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
And be careful because there's like big rocks
The
and
drainage
yeah,
there,
so
Yep.
that
so
could
it's
be a
gotta-
mess.
'cause- yeah.
Mhm.
Especially when kind of to your point, the parents are coming like 3 o'clock because there's this misconception that they're going to get their kid early. And then, yes, what's going to happen in the winter when buses are still trying to get around and the roads are narrower.
Yeah, we talked the next day around here. I mean, realistically, it's one of those things where so far it's been working really well.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But for sure, we're gonna have to keep reevaluating and as time goes on, one of the questions will become, will we shift more people then into the bus? At that point, will we have some room on our buses to do some shifting there? Will we stagger ask our parents to stagger a little bit more than they are presently? But I show that to you because it's amazing to me how literally school gets out at 3:15. By about 3:27, we have all the kids in cars and gone. And of course, as soon as that's the case, then you flip over to the other side. So one of the things that's worked really well for us is staggering our bus and our pickup and drop-offs, because we can kind of hold our bus kids till we get the pickup and drop-off kids. But then again, the pickup drop-off kids come a little earlier in the morning. So that's been real helpful for us to have that staggered delay to get the kids. So then you can see again, doing bus much different than we have in the past, calling the grade levels down one at a time and loading them on the bus. But at the end of the day, they're all rolling out with pretty happy kids. So, a little bit different of a school reopening update maybe than you're used to, but I just felt like I had to show some of kind of what's going on in the building. And I would say, knock on wood, tomorrow things can change, but things have gone really well. And a tribute to our staff and their hard work and our kids. Our kids have been amazing. I mean, I tell the story and it just almost makes me tear up. I was standing in the parking lot rodeo the other day. There was a little young man who was standing on the corner and he was there for a long time. And I kind of looked at him and I was like, huh. And so finally I walked over there and I said, are you waiting for someone? And he looked at me and he pointed to the cone and the cone said, wait on it.
Oh.
And it was one of the cones I had for my cars, and I had set it to the side, but he saw that weight and he totally obeyed it, and I was just like, oh my God. I mean, it almost made me tear up a little bit. I wanted to give the little guy a hug, but it tells you, it's a little vignette of how amazing our kids have been.
Yeah.
I think our staff would agree, they've been extremely, we have not had a single problem with kids in mass. We have not had problems with kids not following the social distancing rules, not intentionally or anything like that. They've been really good. And so, just a shout out to Obviously, parents have instilled in kids how important what it is that we're doing right now and some of the rules and things that are in place. Our kids have been really great about doing it, and our staff has worked just relentlessly to try and make things happen. So, very happy to report. You had asked Steve, I think at the last board meeting, just for a little bit of an update on where things are and where we have everybody. And I won't go through everything, but I did want to talk a little bit about kind of where we're at class sizes and how many of each sections. If you look at 4K, we're very much in that 13-12 range in those classrooms with our 2 days where the kids are on site. You can see in there that in all of our 4K classrooms where we have that number of kids, there's also a teacher assistant in there with them, and you can see with each teacher where they would have a paired teacher assistant. Going into our kindergarten rooms, again in our blended and virtual, because we did it a little differently. We didn't just assign one teacher, for example, to all the virtual kids and one to the blended. What we did is we took two, like a teacher team, and gave them their group of the 9 blended kids and then another maybe 10 virtual kids. So they're literally teaching face-to-face with kids in a classroom 2 days a week, and then they have the virtual kids on the other side. And that seems to have helped a little bit. I think some of where you hear in outlying districts or other places concerns over the blended, it's when they're trying to teach one group and they've got another group online, and then they're teaching this group and that group is online. And I think that's been very stressful for some. But I think what we have, although not perfect, has been working. If you look at our kindergarten classrooms as we had planned, they're in that 18-19 range with a teacher assistant in there, or if it's blended, it's in that 9-10 range. First grade, again, in that 15-16 range. We had that one odd classroom. We struggled with balance. That was the one I showed you. We have 21 kids in there with a full-time assistant in that very large room. But again, kind of going down through, you can see the blended numbers, always kind of planned on those being in that 9-10 range, somewhere in there. Going into second grade, again, class size is pretty good there, where you have your blendeds in that 10 range, but in your actual traditional environment, 14, 15, 16, 12, somewhere in there. So very nice class sizes. I think one of the things I've heard our teachers say is, when COVID is over, can we stay this way with these kind of class sizes? Because it definitely makes a difference between having 22, 23 students in a class, 25 last year in some cases, to having 15 or 16 students in the class. Going into first grade, again, you can see those numbers of 16, 14, 13 in the traditional environment. Fourth grade, very similar. Again, the split of, that having the virtual and the blended teacher kind of shifting off in a team teaching arrangement. Grade 5, again, looking at that 15, 14, 16 range, not perfect, blended's in the 10. Sixth grade in that 16 range. Our sixth grade is a little high, but if you look in those classrooms with 16, they're pretty spread out. It works fairly well, but we wouldn't want to go above that. So I would say one of the places right now we feel a little stretched is in that sixth grade. We're also working with, remember at that middle school level, they're teaching and then streaming into the other classrooms. So we have, although the kids in their homerooms, the teacher themselves don't have significantly more, we're looking for a little better arrangement for our kids who have online instruction right now. They get the streaming from the classes, but to have somebody who's got a little more time available to really follow up with those online kids. So that's an area where we're looking to try and provide a little more staffing maybe there. Obviously, that's a little more challenging now that we're trying to replace a second grade teacher. Seventh grade, again, classes in that manageable range. I think you can see 14, 13 are blended a little bit higher there in the 12, trying to keep that somewhat balanced. To get a perfect parental choice balance was hard, but I think we did a pretty good job of doing that. And then going into 8th, I think you can see, again, that 15 range. What's interesting to me is if you go over into the total, you can see from our traditional, we have 559 students who chose the traditional environment, 148 that chose the blended, and then 234 students that chose the virtual. So you can see students in the building. On Monday, Tuesday, we have about 621 students in our building. Thursday and Friday, about 594. So I think, I would say a testament to our schedulers did a really nice job of balancing classes and trying to make that to the benefit of our students. And then a little bit the breakdown, middle school, you had 171 in traditional, 55 in blended, and 82 in virtual. Elementary school, that's the PK5, 388 in traditional, 93 in blended, and 152 in virtual. So the
Connie-
higher numbers there.
Connie, with how well things have been going in our district, has there been any increase whatsoever in parents from either out of district asking about enrolling their children in here in our district for second semester, or in district parents who at the beginning of the school year had their children in other school districts and have contacted us about wanting to come back?
I would say a significant increase. I think every district is probably going to find out that they're down numbers. We had a good number of students who chose to completely do homeschooling. So you'll see our numbers go down. We do have definitely some students from other districts. For example, a couple students from Kenosha that made a decision because Kenosha at one time was only offering the virtual. The part that was difficult about that is we really had to balance how we let kids in, mainly because we made a promise to our families around class sizes. Right. And so we were careful to, say that we weren't wide open once we had those class sizes balanced. We've not seen a large number of students over and above what we approved last spring opt to go to other districts. A couple, you had some families who wanted a virtual option and were looking for something that, there are schools that have done virtual for many years. They're much, they have that down, that's what they do, that's their mission. And so we did have some families that opted for the more, established, I guess I would say, online curriculum. But in general, I think our enrollment in comparison with other districts has been very stable.
So overall, though, our numbers are down maybe 50 to 60
Yeah, I
from
would
the end
say
of last year, right?
we're gonna
Thereabout.
fall in there pretty close.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think part of that. I know that to me that's alarming, but at the same time you have to remember for 4K example, there's no state requirement that students go to 4K. There's no state requirement that students go to kindergarten. So our numbers in 4K are down quite a lot because I think parents made a decision that they had maybe found a childcare setting that worked for them, and because it was not mandatory. There are some families, we talked about this at the beginning, that made a decision that they were not in favor of any type of a mask requirement, and so made a decision to not send their children to school because of that. And that's a parental choice that, people have made. And then I think just the concept of this whole with COVID, I think there were many parents who just opted to do their own homeschooling, which is an increase from the past, but not inconsistent with many districts around us.
Sure.
This was great. Thank you.
It is.
So technology report update. Dan, you want to jump in on that?
Sure.
And we're doing this mainly because technology is such a huge aspect of keeping our school running right now and making sure that we're delivering instruction to our students. So
See if I'm actually on camera if I put myself this way here. When Connie mentioned, let's have a technology update, the tough part is to where to begin, because obviously there's been a tremendous amount of
effort put in this building for technology, and it's been done by so many people. I happen to put on the board slides here, or present to the board slides, some individuals who really helped out this summer and into the start of the school year. Zach, in our tech department, Zach Gravel, Peyton Zacharias, Karen Crollo, Nick Johnson, Joey Sullivan, Joan Perla, and Shane Morris, all worked in some part-time role from summer to the start of school to get us up and running. Just a tremendous movement of equipment. Setting up the dual monitors for people that definitely need to do some streaming. Setting up the teacher desk and all that equipment, moving it to the central location so the teacher has a smaller footprint in the classroom. It seems like that would be a small task just to move the computer to a different spot in the room, but the data drop in its location and cutting additional Cat6 cables to match where that data drop happens to be now. And then on top of that, just the additional classrooms that we had and adding additional computers into the system. There's no way that a small team could take care of that. So we had part-time help throughout the summer, and just absolutely tremendous. That there's no way this school year would have started the way it did without the help from our part-time people that help support our instruction here, or getting set for instruction. Along with that, the teachers themselves have been just phenomenal, is the word I use there, because there really isn't, I don't know if there is a better word to put, in supporting one another. Obviously, there's a small tech team during the school day, and there are many people and many parents and many students with tech needs during the school day. So we have people stepping up, teacher leaders within their team that tend to be more tech savvy, and their teachers, coworkers will go to them and ask for assistance. And those people jump to it and help. And then just the people that we're able to bounce ideas off of. I know that I'm constantly meeting up with teachers to see how's this working, how's that working. And they take their time from their lesson prep and their lesson recording and their lesson preparation for their stream to pass on information so that we can make things run smoothly for everybody else. Actually, I say that about staff being phenomenal, and that those part-time people, those first two bullet points. This week we welcomed Andrew Curzon, our lead network technician. He has taken the position that was vacated by Tony Green back in February. And Shane Morris has been with us on a basis to fill in between that gap. But this week we welcomed Andrew, and he has been, in just 2 days, he's already been a tremendous asset for this district. In fact, when we were looking at candidates and doing interviewing, he was one that struck me by asking in return. He said, we say, why would you want to come to Salem? And we get an honest answer from a candidate. But then Andrew turned it on me and said, Dan, what made you be at Salem for 18 years? Because I'd mentioned that I was here for 18 years. And it's happening again. I got choked up. I said, it's the people. Everybody stepped up to make this happen this year. And teachers, phenomenal. Again, I won't come up with a better word, I don't think. Phenomenal staff here at Salem. Phenomenal leadership, phenomenal support to make this year kick off the way it did.
Dan, overall, how have you found the bandwidth and all those issues that we've talked about at other?
Actually, that's going to be on the next slide here in just a moment.
Steve.
The IT ticketing system, first, before I get to that, that's a good question, Steve. But the IT ticketing system on this slide here, just the amount of tickets that we've had. We, in the first 3 months here, we haven't even gone through 3 full months in this fiscal year here yet, and we've already met the number of tickets that were submitted last year for the entire year. And that's a couple of things. It's people being efficient with submitting their requests to a team, not just catching someone on the hallway and say, hey, can you help me with this? Not just trying to catch one individual, but instead sending it to the ticket system so that a team can address it.
And so there's that aspect, but also just the sheer number of requests, all the individual things that do come up in a day, that we've got the global things taken care of for people, but now there's an issue in a classroom because this person's sound isn't working, or in that classroom their projector doesn't seem to be bright enough, and those types of things. So the ticketing has increased, but again, partly because people are doing what we ask is, help us help you by submitting it to a system where we can keep that on our radar and get it taken care of. And on the next slide, that tends to actually to what you were mentioning, Steve, is our bandwidth. It's been, knock on wood, it's been working quite well, but I do find it interesting. Today we had our peak ever.
700?
Highest peak ever, yep. 700 megabits of data at one point in the day. Most of the times we don't get higher than about 200 megabits at our peak. Noticed yesterday some of those jumps that got into the 400 megabits, and today we had about 700. But that's still not at our peak. We have 1 gigabit service of data, and so reaching that 700 megabits, we're still at only about 70%.
I think that was when I was downloading all those pictures that you saw put on there.
Yeah, I had to throw a picture in there. Connie had all those nice pictures for today, and I thought I need to throw a picture in there. So, and I just found it very interesting that just today this was the time in which we hit our.
What do you use for the
highest ever
service?
peak.
I'm sorry. What do you use for the service?
This is a WISNet, BadgerNet over WISNet. WISNet is our ISP, and so they have a very, very high uptime. So we've been fortunate in that regard that we've got a very consistent service coming in from the street to our building. And again, knock on wood, we've had some very good connectivity within the building to help make sure that devices can connect. I find it interesting, again, that 700 megabit that we have here today. That's about the time I know I was moving through the building, and I happened by a number of classrooms where not only was streaming going on, but there was a Chromebook right on a desktop in a number of classrooms where kids in the classrooms were busy working on their digital devices. So, and again, third or fourth time I'm knocking on wood. It's been a good start so far. So hopefully we can continue with good consistency with our bandwidth.
Dan, at the last Board of Control meeting for CISA 2, and I sent Connie, and I think I copied you on the email, the huge discount that Zoom is providing, is offering to, I think this is coming through DPI. I don't know how much Zoom is used here in the
Zoom is, we have an account that's used for a few meetings within, I know that Judy uses it.
Okay.
With IEPs and with special ed staff and staff within the building.
Okay.
With our Google Enterprise that we have, we get full service. In fact, Google just rolled out some features that hit a number of us today, like the background blur and things like that. Some
Sure.
of the features that Zoom would have.
Okay.
And the extra tiling so that we look like the Brady Bunch and beyond. And breakout sessions, they just unveiled the breakout sessions where teachers can take groups of kids and break them out into individual groups within their own meeting. So we've been, for the most part, latching on to the tools that Google has.
Okay, thank you.
And then I don't have any more bullet points, partly because in a busy day to try and determine what's the most important thing to highlight, it's very difficult because, again, there are just so many moving pieces in a day. But just to echo what's happened before is the cooperation from students as well of trying to be those troubleshooters and providing information to teachers. Hey, my camera's not working in this instance. And then the teachers working with them as like the first line of support. And then if the teacher doesn't have an answer for the students within the building, our middle school library, the media center is like a go-to point where we work with Joan Pertla in the middle school library. We try and get her to be the second person who takes a look at the issue. And then if the answer can't happen there, then it makes its way to the tech department device. So But again, it takes many to work through things, and again, it's been great. So
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you,
That's
Dan.
very helpful.
Excellent.
But did you have, I'm sorry.
Excellent.
So we have our administrator reports, and they are in their own offices. We made a conscious decision that as an administrative team, we would no longer all be in the same room together at the same time, just because of the importance of us being available in our respective positions. But we'll start out with Susan. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, we've been working really closely with the auditors. They left on a good note, so I think everything's well. We ended up with a lot more in the fund balance than we had anticipated. We were thinking 387,000. We are ending up with 200,000 more. And the reason behind this is because even though we ordered products back in March with the shutdown, because of the shutdown, we had a hard time getting all of the technology purchases and the sanitation equipment in prior to the end of June. So if you don't have it in the building, you can't put it into the fiscal year. So a lot of that carried over to 2021. So we'll end up with a fund balance that is pretty firm, 15% of the expenditures, which is about the desirable part that you want to be in a school district. And that is even with the $400,000 deposit into the capital improvement fund and paying the other contractors. And I just want to say thank you again to the business office staff for really helping me get things together for the auditors. It went a lot smoother with their assistants, gathering all the information for them. We're not done yet, but we're pretty close. Working on the annual report, should have that ready to review with Connie in the next couple of weeks. So far, looking at the state revenues, they're not as bad as they anticipated. I'm still not going to be enthusiastic that it's going to be exactly as they had anticipated us receiving more revenues. But I'm not going to be pessimistic either, because it's not as bad as it looks. So we're still okay for next year, and there's more to come in the next couple of weeks. We did lose a couple of part-timers in the custodial department, but the team's been stepping up and really doing double duty to keep the building clean. As you saw with some of the pictures that Connie had, they're constantly cleaning the offices, cleaning the hallways, cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the classrooms, with all of the new hand dryers and the automatic towel dispensers and the sanitizer stations. They've really pitched in. So I'm very, very pleased with the maintenance team and what they've done. Food service continues to run the summer food program. That was extended August 31st. They notified us that it could go into place on September 1st. So Dan and I worked late into the night on August 31st to get that notice out to the parents. Again, that's for free meals for all children aged 18 or younger. And it doesn't have to be a student here. We do have pickup times, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9:30 to 10:30. That's at door 15. Where we started out the school year, September 1st, providing 154 meals to the students and pickup. We are now at 548 meals a day. The USDA has allowed us to distribute meals for every single day of the week. So if anyone is interested in that, come on by Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we can take care of you between 9:30 and 10:30 at door 15. And we will be continuing that through December 31st.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Susan.
Susan.
Thank you.
So then we have Judith Marachkowski, Director of Student Services. Are you there, Judy?
I am.
So I'm gonna flip to your seclusion report, but then feel free to add in anything else you'd like to add in at this time.
Great. As part of Act 125, we are required to report the seclusion and restraint numbers to the board by October 1. That date used to be September 1st, it is now October 1st. And so you have in front of you the 2019-2020 report. Little bit of caveat here, as the 2018-2019, then 2019-2020 really can't be compared, as we didn't have a full school year last year. However, it was trending significantly lower than it had been in the past. There are some updates to the seclusion and restraint policy overall going into next year. One of those changes is that any incident, any seclusion or restraint by a law officer, or any seclusion restraint that takes place at a private school, for example, where we place a child, now has to be reported. So that could definitely change our numbers for next year as well. The IEP team and/or anyone involved in the seclusion and restraint must also meet immediately upon the seclusion and restraint episode or incident in order to debrief. And the report is now required to go to the parent after each incident as well. And then one of the biggest changes is that the seclusion and restraint report is not only required to go to the school board, but it's also required to go to DPI by December 1st. So those are just some of the updates with seclusion and restraint. Any questions about the report itself?
Nope.
Nope.
Looks great.
No.
And just reporting overall, student services team has just been rocking it as far as working on our school culture and really adding and taking consideration of all of the social emotional needs of both our staff and our students. Watch for October, we're kicking off Kindness Month. It's Red Ribbon Week is going to be part of that. And we're developing programming so students both virtually and here in traditional setting can take advantage of those. We also started implementing the Salem shoutouts that each week we'll send out so like a Google form to all of the teachers, asking them to sort of give a shout out to different team members or different events they see around the building that they're super excited about and want to thank people and acknowledge all of the hard work. I think one thing that we're really noticing more than ever, that the teachers are really feeling a sense of isolation. Not having those natural breaks, those natural planning sessions during the school day has really kept them isolated in their classrooms. And so I think it's really neat that we're able to provide them some sort of outlet to recognize when things are going well and to get rid of that feeling of isolation. So lots of great things happening on that end. On the special education side, we are working to update all of our IEPs to reflect the different learning environments. Writing in contingency plans for both the virtual and or blended, and then if our school gets closed down for virtual. So we're having to write all of those different scenarios into our IEPs. And then we have 6 months to consider additional services. Those services that may not have been provided in the spring. Right now we're assessing to see if there's been any sort of regression compared to their non-disabled peers to see if we have to provide those additional services. So lots going on that side, definitely with the paperwork, but we're moving ahead. And as everyone's been reporting, the kickoff to the school year has been phenomenal. Students are doing well. Teachers are doing a wonderful, absolutely outstanding job. Couldn't be more proud of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Mr. Sandberg. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Just a quick middle school update. We're off to a great start of the year here in middle school. Teachers need to be acknowledged for the amount of time and effort they've spent getting ready for the school year and all the work they've been putting in their lessons, particularly live streaming into the various classrooms. Dan Zach has been instrumental to that whole effort. There is no way we could have gotten that done without him. And he kind of led all the training with that. So without his effort and assistance with that, we'd be kind of stuck and lost. So we appreciate Dan, all the effort he's put into that. And again, the teachers have been doing an unbelievable job with it. And it hasn't obviously been necessarily easy, but they're getting more and more comfortable with that each week. And it's important to understand too, the students are super happy to be in school here in middle school. They've been doing a great job wearing their masks and following the safety procedures in place. And teachers, obviously one of the big issues or one of the big tough things with middle school students is that they're in a homeroom throughout the whole day. Teachers are taking students outside for breaks throughout the day to help them kind of give them a learning break as well and kind of get them out of their classroom, because we knew this is one of the big differences or big changes here in middle school this year. Kind of on a virtual learning update, Connie kind of talked about this a little bit ahead of time, but in sixth grade, we have sixth grade right now, we've got 24 students that are participating virtually. In seventh grade, we have 31 students, and then in eighth grade, we have 26 students. And the virtual students have the option of either turning in live throughout the day or working asynchronously at home, depending on what works best for them. And the virtual teachers are regularly meeting with students to answer questions. It's a little bit different in middle school, where in seventh and eighth grade, we have a specific virtual teacher at those grade levels, and that's worked out really well for them because they're meeting daily with those students to kind of check in to see how they're doing, and so there's some normalcy with their school day. Kind of going on to like the special areas, band, music, and choir, and FIAD. FIAD is outside for the majority of the day, or is all the time until the weather kind of turns. One of the big things with band, music, and choir, we wanted to do that because we understand the importance of fine arts, but we wanted to make sure we were doing it safely. So Connie kind of shared the picture, but students for band are meeting in groups of 6 to 15 outside the main office entrance doors. And we also have bought instrument covers for the face of woodwind and brass instruments, which helps create a barrier for germs and droplets. And the virtual band students are watching the lessons online and it's all online at home. And then in addition with that, those virtual students are receiving weekly individual lessons from Mr. Montagna right now. Currently, we've got about 25, I think 27, exactly 27 students that are participating in band virtually in the middle school. And I know traditionally in the past has been a winter concert. Mr. Montagna is working on doing some sort of virtual recital or a virtual concert sometime in the winter, so we're looking forward to seeing that. We're also offering choir to students in middle school. Ms. Kennel is working with those students to be in choir on our Wayfaring Wednesday. She's giving voice lessons and things like that. Again, choir is looking a little bit different this year, which is kind of unfortunate, but we did want to offer choir to those students who wanted to participate because we found that very important. And that's kind of my report on my end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
And Mrs. Patty Fitzgerald, are you there?
I'm here. All right. So I just wanted to reiterate what Ryan said. I have to give a shout out to Dan. We really could not be pulling off what we are without him and his team. They are making miracles happen every day. It's really just been amazing. As Connie said, we're off to a really fantastic start. She's talked about how great the kids have been, and I have to agree. I know one of the concerns that I heard a lot over the summer was, how on earth are we going to get 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds to wear masks all day? They're champs. It has been amazing to see how they are managing not only the masks, but all the new routines, having to stand separately in lines, following different expectations for being in the classroom, and they're just doing an amazing job. And then our teaching staff has really had to kind of transform the way that they're delivering instruction, really rebuilding what they've done in the past, rebuilding it from the ground up. So, for example, one of the hurdles that we face at the primary level is with phonics instruction. It's really important that when you're teaching kids about the sounds that letters make, they need to see your mouth and the shape of it as you form sounds. You can't do that in a mask. So one of the ways that teachers have solved that, in the second grade, Paige Buchanan is one of our virtual blended teachers, and she has made videos of her delivering this instruction for her virtual students. But her other teammates have discovered that if they show that video, then the students can see what they need to see about how to form the sounds. And then the teacher who's in the classroom is able to give some individual instruction to students and monitor their progress. It's like having two teachers in the room. So they've turned what could be a huge hurdle into a real benefit for kids. So another thing they've been working with, our new reading program, ARC, is it's been a great addition to our school. They've already had several training sessions. They had one last week and another one tomorrow. So they'll be checking in with with our professional developer about twice a month for the next couple of months, and then that will slowly decrease as time goes on. What's really great about that is that teachers are able to try things out in the classroom and then come to this session with the trainer with questions and really dig into the material. So it's a very supportive system for teachers, which really benefits our kids as well. And then finally, I just want to reiterate what Judy said about our support staff. They've been meeting regularly. They're working tirelessly behind the scenes, really collaborating about how to best support our students and our staff. They're really concerned with making sure everyone in this building has the supports they need to succeed. So I just want to thank everybody who's worked so hard these first couple of weeks. I think we've gotten off to a really great start.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank you.
So the next thing I have on the agenda are committee reports. I think we probably don't need to share a whole lot. Remember, we kind of tabled that policy one, and we spent the next 2 board meetings talking about policy. So it was really those policy changes that we made at the last board meeting. Going forward, though, I would like to schedule a building and grounds committee meeting. And the reason for that is we do have kind of our facility study results back now, and they'd like to tentatively meet the week of October 5th or the week of October 12th to just kind of go over with the committee and some of the administrative team and talk about how we want to present that to the community and full board and just get kind of a first look at some of the information on there. So I would request to schedule that committee. I'm thinking that is...
Is it Jack or Steve? Jack, are you on there?
Jack.
Is it me?
It's Jack, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So sometime during that week, I'll send a notice out to see what kind of works, and I'll try and coordinate with PRA. But then hopefully very soon after that, we'll be able to get that information out to everybody then. So upcoming board meetings, as you recall at our special board meeting, we set some of these. The annual budget hearing will be 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 27th, 2020. Still working through a little bit of the logistics of that because it's not as simple to have a virtual meeting for that because it is a meeting of the electors where the electors actually vote on the different items. And so it's looking like we're probably going to hold that meeting on the stage with both the cafeteria and the LGI being available for people who would want to attend that meeting from the public. Then the annual meeting would be at 6 p.m. that night, Tuesday, October 27th, followed by the regular school board meeting where the board is required then to pass a budget at that time following that annual meeting. So that would be 7 p.m. that evening of October 27th. So we'll probably try and keep that. It'll be a long evening, try and keep that a little bit of a lighter board meeting if we can, so.
Great. Steve, do you want to
Yes.
take us into closed?
Sure. I move that we go into closed session according to statute, Wisconsin statute 19.851C, considering the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The closed session will be held in the large group instruction room, individual contracted, individual support, staff member review. The board will reconvene in open session to take any action from closed session.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we are in closed.